In this powerful video, we dive deep into the journey of overcoming betrayal, manipulation, and the relentless attacks of a narcissist. If you've ever felt drained, broken, or abandoned by someone who sought to tear you down, this message is for you. We'll show you how God sees every tear, hears every prayer, and delivers His justice at the perfect moment. Through divine judgment, supernatural healing, and restoration far greater than anything you've lost, you'll learn how to rise above the chaos and emerge stronger than ever. Stick around until the end, because the victory God promises is more than just survival. It's a total transformation. You won't want to miss it. Before we start, I'd appreciate your support. If you like the video, please subscribe and hit the bell to stay updated on future lessons from God. When a narcissist targets your life, their cruelty is not simply an attack on your emotions. It is a ruthless, calculated campaign to dominate every single facet of your existence. Their manipulation doesn't just scratch the surface. It cuts deep, reaching into the very core of who you are, pulling at your strengths, your vulnerabilities, and even your identity. Their goal is clear and chilling. They do not just want to hurt you temporarily. They aim to break you completely. Every word they utter is a weapon. Every action they take is another calculated maneuver in their game of control. They want to own your thoughts, dictate your feelings, and ultimately strip you of the power to make decisions for yourself. The cruelty is subtle, yet it seeps into every corner of your life. What begins as a slow erosion of your mental and emotional peace turns into an all-out assault on your physical well-being. The sleepless nights become more frequent, each one longer and darker than the last, as the quiet darkness of anxiety wraps itself tightly around your chest, stealing your breath. It begins to feel as though the very air you breathe is thickened with fear and uncertainty. You wake up in the morning with the weight of exhaustion, unable to escape the constant exhaustion that gnaws at your soul. Chronic illness, unexplained fatigue, and a sense of disorientation can creep in, your body showing signs of wear that even you can't quite explain. Your mind races from thought to thought, never finding rest. You feel like you're running on empty, but the demands of the narcissist never cease. It's as if you've stepped into a suffocating tunnel, where the light feels so distant and unreachable. Everywhere you turn, you feel the heavy weight of their presence, like a constant shadow looming over you. You can't breathe freely. The walls of your life seem to close in around you, and you are left wondering if you'll ever escape. In the silence of your struggle, their influence becomes an ever-present force, manipulating, controlling, and warping everything you touch. You feel small, helpless, overwhelmed by the relentless force they exert on your existence. Their cruelty seems all-encompassing, and you wonder if there will ever be a way out. But here is the profound and unwavering truth you must hold on to. God will not allow this darkness to last forever. The narcissist's grip, no matter how tight they think they've secured it, is never permanent. No matter how much they attempt to destroy you, body, mind, and spirit, God sees it all. He sees the pain, the isolation, the way they have twisted your reality and broken your heart. He sees the deep wounds they have inflicted on your soul. But He does not stand idly by. God is already at work, moving behind the scenes, breaking their grip and beginning the long and beautiful process of healing and restoration. His light is shining into the darkest corners of your life, exposing the lies and deceit they have used to hold you captive. It is as if the walls of manipulation and control that they've built around you are beginning to crack, and light pours in through every crevice. God moves with divine precision, revealing the hidden agendas they have carefully crafted against you. What was once shrouded in mystery now begins to unravel before your eyes, and you realize that everything they did was designed to strip you of your strength and your dignity. The reality is that the control they once thought they had over you begins to crumble piece by piece as the power of God surges through every area of your life. Isaiah 54:17 declares, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper," and this includes the weapons of manipulation and deceit that the narcissist has wielded against you. These weapons, though they may have appeared formidable, are no match for the overwhelming power of God. The same God who parted the seas, who healed the sick, and who raised the dead is now at work in your life, dismantling every stronghold they've built, breaking down every barrier that was meant to trap you. At first, the changes may seem small. You may notice a shift here and there, something seemingly insignificant, a door that suddenly closes, an opportunity that slips through your fingers, or an encounter that shifts your perspective. But do not mistake these disruptions for random occurrences. They are not coincidences. These are divine interruptions, orchestrated by God's hand. God, in His mercy, begins to intervene, shaking the very foundation of the narcissist's control. What once seemed unshakable begins to tremble, and every lie they've told starts to unravel. Step by step, God is revealing the depths of their manipulation. The fog of confusion that once clouded your mind begins to clear, and in its place, God fills you with clarity and discernment. What was once foggy and confusing becomes painfully, sharply clear. The fog of manipulation lifts, and you can see with perfect clarity the cost of their deception, the toll it's taken on your life, the lies they told you, the fear they instilled in you, and the power they stole from you, are all laid bare. This truth may feel painful at first, but it is the key to your freedom. It is the truth that will set you free. John 8:32 promises, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." God does not stop with merely revealing the truth. He equips you to act on it. He gives you the courage and the strength to walk away from the chains that have bound you. He gives you the boldness to speak the words that need to be spoken, and the wisdom to make the choices that will lead to your freedom. He takes every lie the narcissist has spoken over you and replaces it with his powerful promises. Promises of healing, restoration, and unshakable love. Where you once feared their control, God now fills you with supernatural boldness. Where you once felt weak and vulnerable, God fortifies you with strength that rises from within, drawing from His infinite power. And then, God doesn't simply stop at the revelation of the truth or the empowerment to break free. He actively begins to dismantle the stronghold the narcissist has so carefully built around you. They may try desperately to tighten their grip, but it is already too late. God is already at work, closing every door they once used to control you, cutting off every avenue they once used to manipulate and deceive you. He surrounds you with His protection, like a mighty fortress, keeping you safe from every attack they launch against you. Psalm 91:4 promises, "He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. No weapon formed against you can prosper, because God Himself is your shield. His power is more than enough to break every chain, tear down every stronghold, and set you free." By the time God is done with His work in your life, the grip the narcissist once had on you will be nothing but a fading memory. Their power will be completely broken, and you will be whole again. But God doesn't just break their power. He also restores everything they tried to steal from you. He renews your strength. He restores your joy, and He fills you with a peace that surpasses all understanding. He takes the brokenness they inflicted upon you and transforms it into a testimony of His goodness, His faithfulness, and His power. What once seemed impossible, breaking free from their grip, becomes not only possible but inevitable, because God's power is unstoppable. And here's the most beautiful part of all. God doesn't just break the narcissist's control, He strengthens you in the process. He renews your mind, heals your body, and restores your soul. He takes everything they tried to destroy and turns it into something more beautiful and more resilient, Where you once felt weak, you will now stand tall in strength. Where you once feared, you will now stand in boldness, knowing that God is on your side. The very attack that was meant to destroy you will become a shining testimony of God's miraculous intervention in your life. Take heart in this unshakable truth. The power the narcissists thought they had over you was never permanent. It was temporary, a fleeting illusion. But God's power in your life is eternal. Trust Him to expose the truth, break every chain, and lead you into complete freedom. The moment of breakthrough is coming, and when it does, you will look back at everything they tried to do to break you, and you will see how God turned it all for your good. You will be stronger, more whole, and more empowered than ever before. The narcissist's cruelty, driven by their desire for control, may seem insurmountable at times, but there is a divine assurance that the harm they intend for you will ultimately become the very means of their exposure and downfall. Psalm 7:15 promises, "Whoever digs a hole and scoops it out falls into the pit they have made. The trouble they cause recoils on them, their violence comes down on their heads." This is more than just poetic language. This is the promise of divine justice, and it is a promise you can hold on to, no matter how long the battle seems to last. What they meant for evil, God will turn to good. The tactics they use to manipulate and hurt you are temporary. The enemy may rise through the narcissist to harm your health, your mind, and your spirit, but God will flip the script. Every weapon they form against you will be returned to its sender. The cruel and deceptive practices they employ, thinking they have the upper hand, will ultimately fall back on them. God's intervention is often subtle at first. You may not see immediate changes in the heat of the moment. The narcissist's grip on your life may still feel oppressive, and their plans might seem to be succeeding in the short term. But God is never absent in the battle. Behind the scenes, He is already working to dismantle their plans. Slowly, steadily, but undeniably. It's not always in the dramatic flash of sudden victory. So this process of justice starts with exposure. Luke 8:17 assures us, "For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open." The things the narcissist thought they could keep hidden, their lies, their deceit, their manipulation, are being exposed. God does not reveal the truth to embarrass you. He does it to set you free. When their falsehoods are brought into the light, the control they once had over you begins to slip away. The lies that once bound you begin to unravel, and their carefully constructed image begins to crack. They can no longer hide in the shadows of deception. But exposure is just the first step. God's work doesn't stop at simply revealing the truth. He ensures that every trap the narcissist sets for you becomes their undoing. Imagine a person digging a hole, intending to trap you inside it, only to slip and fall in themselves. This is what God does in your life. Every scheme they've plotted to discredit you or to harm you will boomerang back onto them. The accusations they've spread, the rumors they've whispered, the manipulation they've practiced, all of it will circle back and bring them down. The things they intend to use against you become the very things that unravel them. The power they once had to control you through lies and fear fades. The walls they built to isolate you begin to crumble. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. In moments like these, you may be tempted to take matters into your own hands. The natural desire for justice, the longing for revenge, can stir within you, but God calls you to trust Him. Romans 12:19 reminds us, "Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath, for it is written, 'It is mine to avenge, I will repay,' says the Lord." God's justice is perfect, Unlike human judgment, which can be flawed or impulsive, God's actions are precise and always timely. His purpose is not just to punish, but to restore, to heal, and to make all things right in His divine timing. God's justice doesn't just protect you from harm, it brings healing and restoration to your life. It turns your pain into power. The narcissist may have sought to break you, to leave you defeated, but God uses the very struggle they intended to destroy you to refine you. Every tear you shed, every sleepless night you endured, and every painful moment you face becomes part of God's perfect plan to strengthen you. Like gold being refined in the fire, your character, your faith, and your resilience are being purified through the very battles you face. This process of transformation is not immediate, but it is powerful. What once seemed like a breaking point becomes a place of breakthrough. The strength you never thought you had begins to emerge. What once intimidated you, once held you captive with fear, now has no power over you. The wounds they inflicted, the bruises they left on your heart, are healed by the love of God. In the end, what was meant to destroy you becomes the testimony that inspires others. Genesis 50:20 is the perfect reflection of this. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. This powerful truth is not just for a select few. It is for you. It means that even in your darkest moments, even when it seems like everything is falling apart, God is at work on your behalf. What appeared to be a devastating loss will one day become the story of your victory. Every single battle you've fought, every wound you've healed from, will become a platform from which God will elevate you. The plans of the enemy, the narcissist's cruel intentions, have no power when God is in control. It is easy to lose heart when the battle stretches on and the attacks seem unrelenting. But you must hold on to this truth. God never stops working. His plan for your life is never on hold, and His justice is unstoppable. The enemy can try to wound you, to manipulate you, to twist your circumstances, but when God is in charge, nothing and no one can stand in His way. Trust in His justice, His timing, and His ability to bring beauty from the ashes. God's work is not done yet. When He moves, everything changes, and the enemy's plans are undone. Hold on. Your victory is coming, and when it arrives, it will be a victory like no other. His justice is on the horizon, and when it arrives, it will be unmistakable, overwhelming, and undeniable. What the enemy intended to break you, to shatter your spirit and destroy your peace, will ultimately be the very thing that magnifies His glory in your life. If you're in the midst of this fierce battle, if you're facing the heavy weight of injustice right now, take heart. Don't let despair take root. Hold on to hope, for God is already moving, working tirelessly behind the scenes to shift the tides in your favor. He is at this very moment, in ways unseen, silencing the voices of deceit, exposing the hidden schemes of the enemy, and preparing a victory that will leave no doubt of His power. God's promises are unshakable, and His timing is perfect. Even when it feels like the battle is at its peak, remember that His justice is inevitable. Trust that He will make things right, and the enemy's plans to harm you will fail. God is turning it. If you believe with all your heart that His justice is unfolding in your life even now, the victory you've been longing for, the breakthrough you've been praying for, is closer than you could ever imagine. Stand firm, let your faith remain unshaken, for God is always fighting on your behalf. He is the defender of the weak, the protector of the broken-hearted, and His power knows no bounds. In moments of suffering, when you feel most vulnerable and the world seems to press in, remember that God is relentless and His justice will shine through every dark cloud. There are times when God's patience with the wicked must come to an end, and His righteous judgment breaks through, swift and sure. Though He is filled with mercy and love for all, He is also a God of justice, and he will not allow his children to suffer endlessly at the hands of those who refuse to repent. The narcissist, those who relentlessly seek to harm you, using every weapon at their disposal, often through malicious attacks on your physical, emotional, and mental well-being, will not escape the truth of God's justice. They may walk around believing that they are untouchable and that their lies and manipulations will never be uncovered, but they are gravely mistaken. God sees everything, every betrayal, every lie, every wound inflicted in secret. He is not indifferent to your pain, nor is he blind to the cruelty they have shown. When the fullness of their wickedness has come to its peak, God's judgment will fall with precision and power, unstoppable and undeniable. For a season, the narcissist may seem to thrive. Their power may feel overwhelming, and their control over your health, your peace, and your life may feel suffocating. They may succeed in their attempts to break you, but nothing goes unnoticed by God. Every tear you've shed in the silence, every prayer you've whispered in the darkness, God hears. Psalm 34:17 reminds us, "The righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all their troubles." It is in those moments of deepest anguish, when you feel utterly alone and broken, that God is working behind the scenes. His deliverance comes not with hesitation, but with authority, with power that cannot be resisted. It is a declaration that enough is enough. God will not stand idly by while his children are harmed, and his judgment is not just a punishment, it is a divine declaration that he will make all things right. God's justice often begins with exposure. The lies, the deceit, the secret agendas, everything hidden beneath the surface will be brought into the light. Luke 12:02 tells us, "There is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known." That perfect image of the narcissist, that mask they've worn so carefully, will begin to crack, revealing the ugly truth behind the facade. Those around them, once blinded by their manipulation, will begin to see through the web of lies. The influence they once had over others will start to slip from their grasp. What they intended to destroy you with, their deceit, their scheming, their cruelty, will become the very trap they fall into. Psalm 7:15-16 beautifully echoes this truth. "Whoever digs a hole and scoops it out falls into the pit they have made." God's justice is flawless, and every plan they devise for your downfall will turn back upon them, showing them for who they truly are. Though the process of justice may not always unfold in our timing, and there will be moments when you question why God seems to delay, know that his timing is never wrong. The wicked may seem to prosper for a season, but there is always a purpose in God's delay. 2 Peter 3:9 teaches us, "The Lord is not slow in keeping his promise, as some understand slowness. Instead, he is patient with you, not wanting anyone to perish, but everyone to come to repentance." God is not indifferent. He is patient, giving space for repentance, giving the wicked opportunities to change. But when they refuse, when they persist in their pride and sin, God's judgment becomes certain, not out of anger, but out of justice and righteousness. When God acts, he does so completely. He doesn't simply stop the narcissist's attacks. He removes their power altogether. He dismantles their ability to hurt you, to manipulate, to control. Relationships that once empowered them may begin to collapse. Their carefully constructed image crumble, and their reputation will shatter under the weight of their own. Proverbs 16:18 warns, "Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall." The narcissist's arrogance blinds them to their fragility, but God's justice humbles even the proudest heart. For you, this justice is not merely retribution, it is protection. It is God's divine shield surrounding you, keeping you safe from further harm and restoring you from the wounds they have inflicted. It is God's promise of healing and renewal, ensuring that the enemy can no longer touch you. Isaiah 35:4 declares, "Say to those with fearful hearts, be strong, do not fear, your God will come. He will come with vengeance, with divine retribution. He will come to save you." This is the promise you can hold on to with unwavering faith. God is coming. His judgment will not delay forever. When it arrives, it will bring freedom, peace, and restoration into your life, transforming every area the enemy sought to destroy into a testimony of God's unshakable justice and boundless love. But God's work doesn't stop with judgment. He is not content with merely addressing the wickedness of those who harm you. He is a God of restoration, of healing, renewal, and redemption. After the storm of judgment passes, He begins the profound and miraculous process of rebuilding what was broken. The strength you lost in the heat of battle, the peace that felt like it had slipped beyond reach, the hope that flickered dimly in the distance, all of it is restored to you, not just in part, but in abundance. What was meant to break you will instead become the testimony that sets you apart and highlights the incredible power and grace of God's divine intervention. If you've been waiting for justice, if you've wondered why it has taken so long, take comfort in knowing this: God is never late. Though the storm may rage, though the battle may feel endless, trust that God is watching, moving, and preparing the perfect moment to act. His justice is thorough, righteous, and unstoppable. You don't need to fight every battle or defend yourself against every false accusation. The battle is not yours to win. It belongs to the Lord. His justice will prevail, and when He acts, the victory will be complete and absolute. You will not stand in the ruins of the battle, but in the glorious triumph of His victory. After the battle, God elevates you. One of the most incredible ways God works when the enemy, especially the narcissist, attacks your health, your peace, or your spirit is by lifting you right in the very battle meant to destroy you. It may seem paradoxical. How could a season of pain, relentless manipulation, and attack ever become the stage for your greatest breakthrough? But this is the miraculous nature of God. He transforms what was meant to harm you into the catalyst for your promotion. What the enemy thought would weaken you, God will use to build your strength. What they aimed to tear down, God will use to elevate you, transforming your suffering into something far greater than you could ever have imagined. Genesis 50:20 beautifully encapsulates this divine principle. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done. The narcissist may have plotted and schemed to break you, to silence you, to strip away your strength and leave you defeated, but God is using that very battle to prepare you for a higher purpose. What they thought would be your downfall, God is using to build a testimony of resilience, wisdom, and spiritual power, one that no person, no circumstance, no attack can take from you. Your strength in God will become a beacon for others, a living testimony of how His grace transforms suffering into power. God's elevation is not immediate, but it is always intentional. In the beginning, it may feel like you are losing ground, that the narcissist's influence is overwhelming, their attacks relentless. You may find yourself questioning your ability to fight back, feeling exhausted as if your strength is slipping away. But while the surface of your life seems to be crumbling, God is quietly and powerfully preparing something far greater beneath it all. In the hidden, quiet places of your suffering, He is refining you, strengthening you, shaping you into someone you never dreamed you could be. You are becoming something more than you were before the battle began. As God works in you, He often begins by stripping away everything that no longer serves your future. The relationships that drain you, the toxic patterns that leave you vulnerable, and even the things you once considered essential to your life. God removes them not to hurt you, but to make room for what is to come. It can be painful in the moment, but this pruning is essential for your growth. Pruning, John 15:02, promises, "Every branch that does bear fruit He prunes, so that it will be even more fruitful." God is not removing these things because He is angry with you. He is preparing you for something greater, something more fulfilling, something that will bring you closer to His will. As the battle rages on, you begin to notice the changes within yourself. Where fear once held you captive, courage begins to rise. Where doubt once took root, faith blossoms and grows. The strength you thought you had lost forever begins to return, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually as well. Every attack that was meant to break you becomes a lesson in resilience, a stepping stone to greater spiritual maturity. God is using the very fire the enemy sent to destroy you, to build you, to refine you, to shape you into a vessel of His power and glory. And then, at just the right moment, God will elevate you, when the time is perfect, when your heart is prepared, when your strength is restored, when your faith has been made unshakable. God will lift you higher than you could have ever imagined. He will place you in a position where you can see His glory revealed in your life, and you will know without a doubt that everything you endured has been worth it. The victory will be His. The glory will be His, and you, dear one, will stand in the fullness of His promise. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Suddenly, the attacks lose their grip. The words of the narcissist, which once held so much power over you, fall flat. The manipulation that once consumed your mind and weakened your spirit no longer can touch your heart. What once intimidated you now becomes a catalyst for growth. The people around you start to notice something different about you, not because you've fought back in your strength, but because God's presence is so undeniable in your life that it's impossible to ignore. Your endurance becomes a living testimony, and that testimony shines as a beacon of hope for others still trapped in their battles. This elevation that God brings is not just about rising in status, but about gaining spiritual authority. God lifts you to a new level of faith, where you begin to recognize His purpose in every challenge, no matter how difficult it may be. He equips you with a deeper understanding of who you are in Him, stronger than you ever realized, wiser than you once were, and more connected to His power than ever before. Your identity is no longer rooted in the opinions of others or the lies of the enemy. Instead, it is grounded firmly in the truth of who God says you are: victorious, chosen, and deeply loved. Isaiah 61:3. Promises: He will bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. This is the elevation God offers. He doesn't just restore what was lost or taken from you. He gives you something far greater. He takes the ashes of your suffering and transforms them into beauty. Your testimony, shaped in the fire of your struggles, becomes a powerful witness of God's faithfulness and power. A testimony so strong that it leaves those who once tried to harm you speechless. The most incredible aspect of this elevation is that it is permanent. The strength God has given you, the wisdom you've gained, and the new perspective you've developed are not fleeting. They are lasting. No one can take them from you. What you have endured has prepared you for a purpose far greater than you could have ever imagined. Your survival, your victory, is not just for you. It is a beacon of hope for others still in the middle of their battles. Your story will inspire and heal them, showing them that victory is possible, that God is always faithful, and that no one is beyond the reach of His grace. If you're still in the middle of the battle, hold on. Your elevation is on the way. The enemy planned to destroy you, but God is turning the battle into your breakthrough. Every tear you've cried, every prayer you've whispered, has been preparing the way for the victory that God is about to bring. Trust that He is lifting you higher, even if it feels like you're standing still. The very place where you are attacked will become the platform where you rise, the place where God's glory will shine through you. God's healing power is supernatural, and no matter how fierce the battle has been, no matter how deeply the wounds of the narcissist have cut, God is releasing His restoration over your life. His ultimate plan has never been to leave you in a broken state. His desire is not just to rescue you from the attacks you've faced, but to restore everything that was stolen from you, body, mind, and spirit. And what the enemy meant for harm, God is using for your healing and your breakthrough. What was intended to destroy you has become the stage for God's miraculous power to work in your life. The battle has not been in vain. It has only prepared the way for the most beautiful and powerful restoration imaginable. When a narcissist targets your physical health, the toll can be profound. The stress, anxiety, and constant manipulation wear down your body, leaving you exhausted and emotionally drained. These attacks don't just impact your physical well-being, they affect every aspect of your life. But even amid this overwhelming burden, God is the great healer. He is not limited by the severity of the damage. Jeremiah 30:17 assures us, "But I will restore you to health and heal your wounds," declares the Lord. God's healing is often deep and transformative, starting in the most hidden places of your soul. He addresses areas no doctor can reach: the pain left by cruel words, the physical exhaustion from unrelenting battles, and the trauma that settles into your body after years of emotional warfare. His healing is not merely a restoration of physical strength, it is the renewal of your peace, joy, and hope. He lifts the weight you've been carrying, and suddenly you begin to breathe more easily. The anxiety that once felt permanent starts to dissipate. The strength you thought you lost forever begins to return, slowly but surely. God's restoration is always greater than what was taken from you. He doesn't just return you to where you were before the attack, He elevates you. What was stolen from you is returned with abundance. The years you thought were lost in pain and struggle will be filled with meaning and purpose. God rebuilds what was broken in ways you never imagined possible. Joel 2:25 captures this promise beautifully. "I will repay you for the years the locusts have eaten." This is God's assurance of complete restoration. Your health, peace, and future are all in His capable hands, and He will restore them beyond your expectations. Thank you for joining us in this journey of healing and restoration. We've explored how God's justice, healing, and elevation transform even the most painful battles into victories. It's a reminder that no matter how fierce the attack, God is always at work, turning the tide in our favor. So, what have you learned so far? Is there something specific that stood out to you today? I'd love to hear from you. Comment below and share one thing you've learned that you will start applying in your life. If you found this video inspiring, please take a moment to leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. We'd love to have you as part of our growing community. Stay strong and remember, God's justice is always at work in your life.